It's my privilege to be able to speak on this hearing, obviously because I work here, I work for you all, and we've been working on this issue now for the 7 months that we've been in office and even before. And I have to tell you that this is not trending in the right direction, and we've seen that through the numbers. That's not just an opinion, it's really what has been happening. So I do want to thank Sheriff Daniels and Mr. Ladd as well, and of course Mr. Arthur for testifying here today and being here with us to give us your expertise and your thoughts on this. And you know, when I look at what's really happening here, and we got the reports today, and I do want to give a good shout out to the local leadership and the SABRE team that is working on this, that has been working on this, and all the people here in this hearing that have been dealing with this issue for some time now. And we've seen the comparisons from 2-3 years ago, where we were and where we are today. And again, things are not trending in the right direction, haven't been for a while. But the local leadership here, city, county, state, and we've named many of them here, have done all that they can and all that you can to help with this issue. Bottom line, this is a federal issue, and the federal government needs to step up to the plate on this, and that's exactly what we're here to do. And we also talked about the bipartisanship on this. When we talk about city, county, and state priority on this, that crosses party lines. And Sheriff, you just mentioned it, public safety, national security, and humanitarian. These are the three factors of what we're seeing here today. And this Tucson sector and Sierra Vista and Cochise County specifically are ground zero for this. And the questions that I want to pose here to some of you are specific in that area, and I'll take the opportunity to mention some of the things that we've been working on already. But this has been a priority for us, for you all, because you're living it day in, day out. You live this every single day. I really respect and am grateful for our colleagues here from other parts of the country coming here and seeing firsthand what's happening, because you really have to see it in order to understand it, in order to believe it many times and see what's exactly happening. And that's what we did today, so I'm grateful for that. Sheriff Daniels, I'll start with you. Could you please speak to the tactics that you're seeing that the cartels use now to recruit young people?
The biggest tactic, and it's no secret, is social media. Teenagers today spend a lot of time on social media. We know that, it's no secret, and that's why we see children from the ages of 13 to 17, and then we've had them all the way up to 72 years of age, coming from all over the country. And you look at the almost 2,300 I stated earlier in my opening statement, only 131 were foreign-born or illegally in the country. Mm-hmm. The rest were all U.S. citizens coming from Florida, Chicago, 2 former law enforcement officers. I had the privilege of addressing one of them. Didn't like the consequences, but I addressed it. The bottom line is this: as long as social media fails to govern that and control that, when you can buy fentanyl off social media for $10 a pill and it delivers at your house, that's a social media drug dealer. There's no other way to put it.
Absolutely. We have terrible bad actors and cartels and organized crime pushing fentanyl, and they're recruiting with social media. Obviously, I'm a co-lead on the bill here that I know that you know about, Combating Cartels on Social Media Act. This addresses that issue specifically to make sure that these social media companies are communicating with law enforcement to be able to tackle this. When you talk about the age range here from 12 to 72, I have 6 kids myself, several in this age range. It's scary for any parent. This is the kind of thing that keeps you up at night, both either your child falling to the addiction of these drugs being transferred or being recruited for this kind of activity. I've got several questions, and I'm running out of time here, but I'll one more question here to you, Sheriff, and then I'll move on to the next round. Another issue that seems to be plaguing our communities, particularly here in Sierra Vista, is the high-speed chases that you've talked about as well through our communities. Can you speak to the authorities that what's been happening there and how this endangers our community, not only in highways but also in residential areas?
Well, the vehicle obviously is, when they get hooked up by social media, they come to our county, they pick up along the highways, out of the brush, they jump in the car, and then 100 miles an hour through. We have spent many, many hours of enhanced interdiction, many hours of policy rewrite, working with legal to make sure doing everything we can to protect our citizens and bring that high-speed pursuit to a close. And I'll say something on that, if I could, Congressman, on this, is something that's not being told either, is when we see young people up to a 7-year-old stuffed in the back of a vehicle and a driver going 100 miles an hour in the opposite lane of traffic at 9 o'clock at night, who's protecting that migrant?
Yeah.
I would say the federal government's not. We are. We're doing everything we can to safely bring these to a conclusion so we see no more death in this county, because that's getting old.
Thank you, sir. The federal government has clearly been failing at this drastically for years now, and we have the right attention on it now. Chairman, I yield back. You know, I ended the last round by saying that the federal government is failing, and I really stand by that. That means that they're failing everyone. I mean, they're failing all of you here by not doing what needs to be done to protect. They're also failing our agents, though. They're failing our Border Patrol agents and those that are in the front line fighting hard, and those in law enforcement as well. And I would even venture to say that they're failing those that are seeking an opportunity of a better life in this country. They're absolutely failing everyone. There's no win on this one for really anyone. One of the, in talking about our agents here, one of the main efforts, I came here shortly after starting my first term just a few months ago, and one of the first things I did was meet with our Border Patrol agents and law enforcement. We had a combined meeting. One of the things that I heard was a need to do something about making it illegal for making it a federal crime for evading law enforcement when they're fleeing. We talk about these high-speed chases. We need to tackle the root issue, which is, again, the social media aspect, but also increasing penalties on those that are fleeing law enforcement, because right now it's not. And I think many of the people in the room were shocked, including myself, that it's not even a federal crime to do so. So that's one of the things that we've taken immediate action on. Now, Mr. Ladd, talking about penalties to those that are breaking the law here, we talked about those transporting people, but also on the spotter side. You know, I visited your ranch. I've been there several times, and you've taken me around in several aspects of it. I got to see the wall stacked up there that was there for a long time without being used. One of the other things you showed me was the activity that you can see on the other side, and the activity by these spotters, because I also have a bill here that will increase penalties for those people that are enabling and participating in the spotting system. Can you talk a little bit about the spotters, please?
Well, it's widespread on the whole border, and yeah, it's they got good optics. They're dedicated to. They'll be at their outposts for 2 weeks at a time, and they've got really good cell service, so they're in communication with the rest of the smuggling crew, and when they don't see law enforcement or Border Patrol, they go for it. Mm-hmm. And you know, they're on my ranch. They're in the mountains above us, out where we were this morning, and nobody can touch them. And even the Mexican army won't touch them. But they know exactly what's going on. They know how many people are on the border. They know how many people they got crossing at any given time. They stage it. Example on our ranch is the first shift of Border Patrol in the morning. They're going to catch 3 groups. They're going to be tied up an hour and a half. And while they're processing that group waiting for transport, there's going to be 5 groups that go right past them.
Exactly. We've seen that, and that's exactly what they're reporting as well. I'm going to try to fit in 2 more points. Mr. Arthur, real quick here, you know, you talked about the impact on the legal system here, on the legal part of becoming a resident and eventually a citizen. I know that system well. I was born in Mexico, and I actually became a United States citizen in 2006. And then I became a U.S. congressman in 2022, 16 years later. This is the best country in the world. This country is a welcoming country. It's a country of laws as well, of being gracious and being welcoming of so many people around the world. And I can tell you firsthand how many holes and things we need to fix on the legal side of becoming a United States citizen, given that my family and I got here years and years before. I got here as a young child, and it took us that long to be able to finally become U.S. citizens. Now, I know that firsthand because I went through it. I started as a child and became a citizen when I was an adult. So on this impact that the illegal activity right now is having on the legal side of people that have been in the waiting list and on line basically for so long, can you talk just briefly on that? And I want to get one more point in, if you may.
Absolutely. One, the Gallup organization does polling on whether people want impressions of immigrants to the United States. That polling has taken a very dire turn, and a plurality of Americans now want to see less legal immigration in the United States, which is bad. We want to, continue to bring in the vibrancy to this country. But there are a couple of other aspects of that very briefly, Mr. Ciscomani. One is we have so many asylum claims that are pending before the Immigration Court, before USCIS. A large number of people who want to bring their family to the United States, who want to come to the United States legally, their applications are stuck in that backlog. Yeah. They are truly suffering. At the ports, we have legitimate travelers who want to cross the border into the United States. Right now, CBP-1, we've heard talked about, 1,450 interviews per day, and you could show up anytime during a 23-hour period. You can imagine what effect that's going to have on the ports on the other side and on the ability to stop the fentanyl that Mr. Timmons had talked about before. If you're pulling those agents off to talk to somebody who doesn't have any right to be here, you're going to slow up that system.
Thank you. I'm out of time. The last point I want to make, because several of you mentioned it, and I think it's important food for thought here for my colleagues on, and also for everyone here. Several of everyone here brought up the point of Mexico and their role in all this, and how when they were cooperating just a few years ago, things were a lot better. And the diplomacy needed here, and also them being our #1 trading partner, living on the border like all of us do here, is an asset, not a liability. And it shouldn't be seen as a liability, but it's become one in a lot of ways due to this lack of enforcement. So we need to continue to work, and Mexico needs to work with us as well in order to live on their, live up to their end of the securing the border piece as well. And with that, Mr. Chair, once again, thank you so much for bringing the attention to the border and for bringing both subcommittees here to CD6 in Arizona. Thank you so much. Thanks to the witnesses as well.